Hey, is this thing on? Hello? Hit it again. I think it's on now. Welcome to Hiker Trash Radio, where each week, Doc will drag some colorful characters out of the woods to talk trail and Type 2 fun. If you're aspiring hiker trash, or if you're just looking to understand the hiker trash in your life, look no further. So lace up those boots, gnaw on some jerky, and settle into your 20-mile pace as we fire up the podcast from somewhere deep in the backcountry. It's time to embrace the suck.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome back to another week on the trail, dirtbags, hiker trash, and of course, good smelling day hikers. I'm Doc, and this is Hiker Trash Radio. Hey, if you like what we're doing here, help us out. Take a minute and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you don't like it, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. All right, let's get to this week's guest, a repeat customer who always has some stories to share. Welcome back to the pod, Thru hiker, gear junkie, and vice president of Six Moon Designs, Whitney LaRuffa. How's it going, Whitney?
It's going great. Just between trips and have a lot of fun.
Okay. Also with me tonight is my highly irregular co-host and bona fide card-carrying member of the Hiker Trash community, Jeff Garmire. What have you been up to, Jeff?
Just hanging out and running in Montana. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Whitney, do you go by Whitney all the time? What's your trail name? Just remind our listeners.
My trail name's Allgood. And if we're going to be on a podcast, let's go with Allgood because we don't want to confuse people by calling me Whitney. So, yeah, Allgood. Allgood's my trail name. Let's go with that.
All right. I'm just renaming
it's all good.
It's all good in the hood. There you go.
Good. Now, did your parents name you Whitney because of Mount Whitney?
I know my parents named me Whitney after a stockbroker they were friends with on Long Island, who was a very wealthy person. They just always loved the name. It was either Dominic Joseph LaRuffa II or Whitney Dominic LaRuffa. Still with Whitney Dominic LaRuffa. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah. And they never even thought about the repercussions of 45 years ago naming a boy the girl's name and what a lifetime of confusion that would leave for people. But hey, I don't really mind at this point. I just roll with it.
Hey, You're stronger for it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, being bullied as a kid really makes you strong as an adult. It's great.
I mean, that's why you got a trail name. Now you can go by Allgood.
Exactly, Allgood, exactly. Or the Allgoods, that's what we call the family here, so we fully embrace it here at the LaRuffa house.
I like the plural, the Allgoods. That's
the Allgoods,
awesome.
Yeah.
Like a TV show.
I was going to say, sitcom. It's a sitcom in the making right there. All right, and Jeff, how about you? Got a trail name?
Yeah, it's Legend. I've been through hiking a bit, but I still get called that once in a while.
What have you been doing in your spare time if you're not through hiking?
Trying to make money, run in the mountains, travel too much. I don't know. A little bit of everything.
Whitney, Allgood. Did you hear about Jeff's FKT of the JMT?
I did.
Yeah.
I hear all his FKTs. I'm a big fan. Big follower. Jeff and I actually met in 2016 on the CDT.
Yeah, we met on the trail.
We met on the trail. He was actually the last Southbounder I met. I met Brazil Nut, and then like an hour and a half later, I met Legend. And then we both came back to Portland about a month apart from each other, and we hung out a bunch because we were both unemployed together at the same time. So it was great. So yeah,
you were with Tattoo Joe at that point.
I was with Tattoo Joe at that point, yeah. And that was the day we broke. Charge. My buddy Charge had done 6 or 7 days in a row with 30+ mile days with Tattoo Joe and I. And that day we never saw him that evening. And we never saw him for 3 days. We got to town and he sent me a text. He's like, I had to have my mom could pick me up and take me to the hospital. I think my feet are broken.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
But he was fine. It was just overuse. A couple of days off trail and he was back on trail and not doing 30s. He seemed to be a lot better off. So
yeah, a lot happier too. I'm
sure.
A
lot happier too. Yeah, exactly.
So you heard it here first. You can break a hiker.
You definitely can break a hiker. Even a couple of 1,000 miles in, you can still break that spirit.
Wow.
Now, before we went on air, we were talking about the recent rebranding of the what used to be the John Freaking Muir Pod to now Hiker Trash Radio, and this interview is taking place literally like 48 hours after the rebranding took place.
Wow.
Yeah, and so Allgood, you had some very strong opinions on the phrase hiker trash.
I do have strong opinions, but maybe for your clientele and your listeners, I just keep this to myself. We don't need to alienate everybody in the hiking community with my old man ways over here in Curmudgeon Corner.
All right.
I like that, Curmudgeon Corner. That's good.
All right. Well, hey, Allgood, you've been on the podcast before, so you know we have a segment towards the end of the episode where it used to be called the Pro Tip Inside of the Week. We've also rebranded that to be the Hiking Hack. That's where you get a chance to share some of your trail wisdom with our listeners to make the next outdoor experience even better. So don't be surprised when we get there.
Okay, I won't be.
Okay.
Wow, it's like a PR overhaul.
Trailblazers Toolkit.
Say that again, Jeff. I punched over you there.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was going to say it's like a PR overhaul with all this rebranding. We're going to have to get used to all these new terms.
I know.
There's a lot going on here at the at Hiker Trash Radio. I just caught myself. I almost made that mistake. All right.
Trailblazers Toolkit.
All right. This is Allgood's favorite segment because it's time for the Trailblazers Toolkit, sponsored by the ultralight backpacking gear company, Six Moon Designs. I love to talk about gear on the podcast, and I love to hear about the most important item in my guest adventure gear. So, Allgood, if you were preparing for your next adventure and I was the one providing you with all your gear, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? Give me all the specifics on that piece of gear and tell me why you got to have it out there. This can be any type of item. It could be gear. It could be apparel. It could be a luxury item. So, Allgood, what is that item in your toolkit?
Is it weird if I don't say a piece of gear by my company?
Not to us.
Okay, cool. So I would probably say the MVP piece of gear in my gear kit that goes with me everywhere I go, no matter what, would have to be my Mont Bell wind shirt.
Wow.
It weighs 1.9 ounces. It fits up in a little ball that you can shove in your pocket of your kilt or whatever. And I probably use that piece of gear more than any piece of apparel besides the clothes I just hike in all the time. Every day. I mean, I wear it every morning when I leave camp. I wear it just about every time I take a break, anywhere that's exposed. And I usually wear it like the last hour at night when I'm hiking as I cool down, just to kind of help retain heat so I'm not expending as much energy. So, and when it's really buggy, it's a great layer to put on. So you don't have to put on a bunch of bug spray. And I know a lot of people argue and say, oh, why do you need a wind shirt? I got a rain jacket. I really don't like wearing off the finish on my rain jacket every day. Plus, rain jackets are hotter than a wind shirt, so to me, the wind shirt's kind of a essential piece of gear that's being packed with me no matter where I go.
Hey, give me a strict definition of what is a wind shirt.
Ooh.
It's usually it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a super lightweight. I have an anorak, but a lot of people have a full zip parka with a hood. Mont Bell makes a line called the Tachyons. Another really popular one is the Patagonia Houdini. Probably like the next most popular most people wear, and it's just essentially a windbreaker. It's just a super light top. They also make bottoms that weigh, usually less than 2 ounces, so less than a bite of a Snickers bar, and it just is a great layer for blocking wind and retaining heat. And especially you take a break, you might be in the summer and you're on a ridge, but you have a little slight breeze, and that's cooling your body down. It's taking energy away from you. So putting on a wind shirt and retaining heat even for 15 minutes is going to help you reduce the amount of calories you need to ingest to keep your energy levels up.
Yeah, it's like the difference between waterproof and water resistant. It's sort of wind jacket versus rain jacket.
Yeah. And it's like a single layer fabric instead of like a 3-layer Gore-Tex or a 2.5-layer Gore-Tex. It usually has a DWR finish. It's just a really handy piece of clothing.
It's a really good one to take. I also take one like on a run or a long hike or something, because even if it does rain, it's like good enough for that afternoon or something.
Yeah, it's like a vapor barrier even in the rain. If you don't have, it's not fully waterproof, at least it's retaining some of that heat against your skin.
Allgood, I like the way you explain that, because in my mind, what I'm going to do next time when I pack it for my next big trip, I'm going to get myself a wind shirt and some wind pants, and I'm just going to take 2 extra bites out of the Snickers bar before I pack it.
There you go. There you go.
It's neutral. It's weight neutral.
Exactly. I mean, the thing
That's
is,
like a
when I have the
hack right there.
Yeah, when I had the CDT, I didn't even carry rain pants. I just carried wind pants and a rain skirt. That's usually my go-to setup for 90% of the hiking I do. Just a nice lightweight rain skirt and a pair of wind pants. Because I mean, really, rain pants, unless you're going to be hiking for weeks and weeks in pouring cold rain, rain pants are kind of useless. They're kind of heavy and they're just not really worth the weight if you can have wind pants and a rain skirt.
And I'm going to get emails from listeners if I don't ask this question, because folks want to know what's under the rain skirt.
My wind pants. No, I mean, I hike in a kilt and a pair of ex officio boxer briefs, and then the rain skirt is just like a big steel nylon. Exactly what it sounds like. It's like a rain sarong. It's just this big rain wrap that you put around. And I mean, mine goes long. Mine goes down halfway down my shins. And I just find it way better than rain pants. Like maneuverability, breathability. You get good airflow when you want it. It's great even in the mornings when it's not raining. Like if you're on the AT and you're going to be walking early in the morning through all that wet grass and brush, they're great for putting that on just to keep yourself dry the first couple hours of the day.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, I have a ULA one. I have an Etowah one. I've had a Dyneema one by Z-Packs, but kind of the really big oversized ULA one is kind of the one I go with all the time.
Now, are you going to get any flack from the Six Moon Designs folks about not going with one of their products?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we're all, avid outdoor users. We all have favorite items. I mean, I have a pretty heavy Six Moon Designs toolkit, but, I mean, that's because, they make good gear. We make good gear and I work for the company. That's why I have a heavy toolkit. But I mean, if you had to say one essential piece of gear for my next trip, it's always going to be my wind shirt, because I don't leave home without that or a head net. Those are 2 things. No matter what time of year I leave my house, they're always in my backpack.
All right, Jeff.
I like I like touching on rain skirt and wind shirt, because I think those are often forgot. I even took a rain skirt on the long trail FKT. That's how useful they are.
Yeah, they're great. And then you get to camp, but you can always use it as a second ground sheet too if you want to lay some stuff out your cowboy camping and stuff. And they're just a really handy, lightweight piece of gear.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, guys, let's move on to our next segment.
It's the hiking pole.
That's right. It's the hiking pole, and that's pole spelled P-O-L-L with 2 L's, like a survey, not like the thing you hold in your hand out there. I like to explain that to everybody because I feel like I was so clever to come up with that. And their reaction is pretty much the same as Allgood's right there. Just
it's a written joke delivered verbally.
I mean, it makes more sense on the email than it does. Yeah. You're like, oh, got it. No, the hiking pole, got it.
All right. So Allgood, this is a 7-question survey that's going to help me score you on the sanity scale from 1 to 100, with 1 being completely insane, 100 being completely sane.
Okay.
All right. If I were to ask your friends and family, where would they score Allgood on the sanity scale? Where would you fall?
Totally insane.
Totally insane. Down by 1 or 2, you're single digits.
I mean, what was the scale? 100's insane?
100 is completely sane, and 1 is completely insane.
I would probably say I'm a 1 or 2, depending on who you ask. Yeah.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
I'd give him a 1. But...
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Jeff knows me. He's going to be a 1, so yeah.
Jeff, you're already predisposed to this score, because I was going to do it a little bit different today. I was going to ask the questions. We'll have Allgood give his explanations and his answers, but I was going to have Jeff score.
Well, he might be biased, but that's good.
Well, this is really good then, because now everyone has seen question 1 was a 1, and they're going to have to guess how I grade on the rest of them for the final score here.
There you go.
All right, now Allgood, you've been on the podcast before, so I think you've answered some of these questions. Do you want the questions from the set B?
Yeah, I don't want the same questions. That'd be really weird.
Okay, so these
are new questions.
These are not necessarily. They're not necessarily hiking related questions. These are some of the big questions we wrestle with in the world as a society. Probably take an entire episode on any one of these. But for the
I'll try to keep it brief for you.
Yeah,
I'll keep it brief. I get a flight on Thursday, so we'll keep it brief.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll ask the questions. Jeff, you're doing the scoring, so just keep it to yourself to the very end, and then you'll tell us how you came up with your score. And all good. Always, this is not rapid fire. You give a little bit of explanation to help Jeff with his scoring rubric.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. All right. First question: do you sleep with your socks on in regular life?
No, in regular life, I do not sleep with socks on. I don't sleep in much in regular life.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Just the rain skirt and that's it.
Just only on Tuesdays. Only tonight. Yeah, you got me on a Tuesday, so tonight I will. I don't sleep with socks or anything. And just, pair of boxers, call it good. I mean, it's my bed. I mean, it's not like I'm got to worry about anything.
All right. Question number 2.
Yeah.
Pineapple belong on pizza.
Yeah. As an Italian American, I'm probably going to go with not really. But much to my parents' dismay, I do actually enjoy a slice of pizza now with this pineapple on it. So I guess it goes either way, but it's not my first choice. Like, my first choice would definitely be like sausage, ricotta, jalapenos. So, yeah.
All right. What about
I'm not going to go order a Hawaiian pizza myself. But
are you a big mushroom guy?
Now and then. My wife loves mushrooms. I'll eat them on pizzas, but not my favorite. More like black olives, artichoke hearts, garlic, things like that. Yeah. Or just all meat. Like, I love meat. You can do an all meat pizza. I'd be totally stoked. So, yeah.
There you go. All right. Question number 3. Do you roll your toilet paper over or under?
I have a bidet, so I have neither.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't tell you in the last 3 years if I've put a roll of toilet paper on the roll at home. But if I do, I do it over because that way it comes off like a waterfall, which is what I believe is the proper nomenclature of how it's designed to be used.
Now, Jeff, let me give you some insight here. There are 3 types of guests. Actually, take that back. There's 2 types of guests. There are the guests that go with one of the 2 prescribed answers or suggestions that you give, and there's somebody who goes completely off script. Yeah,
you asked. I have a bidet. Right, dude, get a Tushy spa. They're like $120. They have warm and cold water. There's no electronics needed, and you stop using toilet paper, and you can save a ton of money and a ton of, listen, cutting down trees doesn't bother me. I worked in the lumber business for 20 years. But you're cutting down a bunch of trees. You're making a smaller carbon footprint. And honestly, I feel a lot better having a nice clean Tushy than not.
Wow.
Yeah.
The guys that fascinate me are the ones that are using bidets out on the trail.
Man, I don't know how they're doing that and not getting their boxer shorts and everything all wet. And then, I met a guy on trail a couple years ago. He was using the same water bottle he drank out of to put his Kula, squirt top on to clean his butt. And I was like, dude, maybe you don't have Giardia. Maybe it's the cross-contamination of that smart water bottle that you've been carrying for a month, washing your butt with, and then drinking out of later in the day. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if it works for you, that's great. I do carry some wet wipes on trail. I do find that's kind of the nice in-between. A little polish at the end, so to speak.
That versatility and efficiency, though, with one water bottle system. when you're that hardcore in accountant grams, all I gotta say is maybe do some squats at home before you hit the trail and carry that second water bottle for the bidet. That's all I gotta say. Or take a bite out of a Snickers bar before
or one less Snickers bar in the pack. Exactly.
Jeff, you beat me to it.
Either way, I would have a second bottle for my bidet if it was me.
Yeah, no, we both saw that one coming.
We did. Yeah. It was on a tee. All right. Question number 4. I think we're on 4. Question number 4. Cats or dogs? All good.
Both.
Here, Jeff, did I tell you? This is
here's the thing. This is the first time in my life. September is the first time in my life since September that I haven't had a dog since I was 18 years old. And since I was 23, I've always lived with cats. I've always lived with cats and dogs. And they're both pretty awesome animals. I would say I was definitely more of a dog person for many years. But I like cats too. Like, cats are cool. They got their own agenda. There's a lot to be respected with a cat. Like, cats are cool, dude. Like, they're cool roommates. My only problem with the cat is they poop in the house. And I should be the one who keeps sure that poops in the house. But if you're to do something in the outdoors, cats are way easier if you want to go away and do something in the outdoors than a dog. Like, I had a dog for years, and dogs are great. But then there's like the whole period where the dog slows down and the dog can't go hiking. And then there's this weird dynamic with you and the dog. He sees the gear. He knows he can't go and he's all upset. It's just, yeah. But I mean, I love them both. Trust me. If I could have another dog right now, I would have another dog right now. But I was told no dogs for a while. So no dogs for a while.
Now, if you have the opinion that you should be the only one pooping in the house, and what does the dog say about that when you guys go outside on the trail?
I mean, we used to like, side by side. I mean, I'm best friend action there.
Hold each other's paws.
Yeah, hold each other's paws. Yeah, I mean, I found a dog when I hiked the AT when I was 18 that I hiked the AT with, and then when he passed on 13 years later, I got my last dog, Karlik, and I mean that dog hiked all over the Western United States with me. I mean, I love the company of a dog, but it is a lot more work than having two cats. I can tell you that. Like, you want to go away for the weekend, someone's got to watch the dog, or you're going to have a place to take the dog. The cats, I could throw out extra food and be like, hey, see you guys Sunday. Have a great weekend, you two. They're like, okay, see you Sunday. They don't care. So, yeah.
All right. Question number 5.
Yep.
Allgood. Do you use the Oxford comma?
What's the Oxford comma versus a regular comma?
Okay.
I mean, God, I feel like an idiot. I went to Virginia Tech, for God's sakes, but I did study science, not English there, so.
That's all right. So if you use a simple series like red, white, and blue, how many commas in that sentence? Red, white, and blue.
3.
3 commas. Where do you put those things?
Between the red, between the white, and between the red, white, and, 2. The red, the white, before the and then, And then
yeah,
blue,
so the Oxford comma is the comma before the and in a simple series.
Yeah, then I guess I use the Oxford comma.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that not what you're supposed to do anymore? I mean, they changed a lot of grammar. And Jeff is texting with me, so he can attest that, one, I can't spell or use grammar. In fact, if you text with me, you will be known what people say is, oh, you must speak Allgood because you understand the cryptic, weird messages you get from me typing fastly. Or fast. From typing fast and making mistakes. I can't speak either, apparently, today. So, hey, there you go.
Well, I have a strong opinion. I think, of course, you should use the Oxford comma. I mean, you stop using the Oxford comma, then that's just the first step in society just breaking down. So,
I think we're long past the Oxford comma there, my friend.
You think a comma will save everything?
Yeah, the comma's going to stop the robot overlords of AI from taking over. Okay, now there's a plot twist I didn't see in any sci-fi movie in my life yet, but I'm waiting for it.
I think it's going to be Allgoods watching or saving the world with a comma.
Exactly, one comma at a time. with my typing method.
And I mean, since we're talking about the apocalypse here, what is the better superpower? Invisibility or flying?
Wow, man.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. And now, are we speaking in terms of like the apocalypse where this skill's coming into play, or is this just like if I just had a superpower today, what would it be?
I just use the apocalypse as a segue. So it could be, what is the better superpower? I guess is the more general question. Invisibility or flying?
I think invisibility would be a lot handier than flying. I mean, if I'm invisible, I can sneak on a plane and just go hide in the bathroom. I can fly. I mean, there's ways to fly if I'm invisible. But you can get a lot done if you're invisible. Man, that'd be pretty awesome.
Hey, Jeff, I just want to point out, of all the things you can do while you're invisible, Allgood points out that he could spend his time in an airplane bathroom.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things I would do. I'm just saying, like, if it was flight or invisibility, if I'm invisible, I could figure out the flying part, like, easily.
Yeah. He couldn't even use
the bathroom. If you could fly, you wouldn't need the airplane.
Right. Yeah, but I think the whole flying, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you get hit by a bird or something. I mean, bird strikes hit planes every year. Like, you imagine, like, hitting, like, a crow in your face while you're flying? That could be a big mess. Big mess. Broken nose, lots of blood. Plus, if you ever see me drive, maybe flying's not the best thing either for me. So, yeah, I'm going to go with invisibility. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
You opted to solve flying by hiding.
Man, do you know how much fun it would be to be invisible on the AT? And you could, like hide in a shelter in the corner and like wait for everybody to be in there right when they're about to fall asleep, and they'd be like, "Oh, I mean, that'd be so awesome." Oh man, you could mess with so many people.
All right. Question number 7. Last question in the poll, giving Jeff all the material he needs to give you an accurate score on the sanity scale. Question number 7. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Hot dog is a sandwich? No, it's a hot dog. It's like its own thing. It's not like...
So is it just a taco then?
I would say a hot dog's closer to a taco than it is to a sandwich, yes. Yes, I would. I would definitely go that route. Yeah.
And why? Is that because of the hinged bread?
Probably.
Yeah, the hinged bread. Like, it's a bun, not bread. It's like, it's a bun. You know, it's hinged. You can eat a hot dog by itself.
Buns are not bread.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, but like a PB&J is a sandwich because you have to have the bread to hold together the peanut butter and the jelly. But like a hot dog, you just pick that up off the grill and eat it right straight. You can eat a hot dog straight out of a package, actually. I mean, they're fully cured and ready to eat. Heating it up is just like, performance.
Wow. I like this breakdown.
Yeah.
So cooking a hot dog just improves performance. It's perfectly good right out of the package.
They're totally edible out of the package. I've definitely eaten some raw hot dogs in my lifetime without any issues.
Cooking a hot dog is just performative.
Yeah.
Don't say without any issues until you get your score on this poll.
Okay.
All right, so let's take those answers, Jeff. Let's put them through your algorithm you're going to use, and let us know how you tabulated this score and what the score is.
Well, a lot more of the answers were more sane than I expected, actually. But then there were a few outliers, or even a good answer that he continued to bury with his explanation. And then the choice of other came in, and that brings us to a score of 27.
27.
So much higher than expected, for sure. I mean, it was a great answer with dogs and cats. I mean, that puts you into the safe realm at least. So
sweet. All right. There you
really
go.
saved your score here.
Nice. So I'm safe to go in the woods with now? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, you're almost too safe.
Almost too safe. No, I don't know about that.
All right. Hey guys, before we get too far down the trail, let's back up just a little bit. Whitney, just remind our folks, where you're from, where you grew up, and how you get involved with through hiking and Six Moon Designs.
I grew up in New England most of my life. Went to high school in Long Island, and was big into scouts when I was a kid, and hiked a lot in the White Mountains, and learned about the Appalachian Trail pretty early on, and decided I wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail when I was 14. And tried to convince my parents to let me go hike the Appalachian Trail at the age of 14. But instead, they made me wait and do it when I was 18. So I did. I was on the forefront, I guess, of a gap year. I graduated high school early and hiked the Appalachian Trail in 96. Then I went to college, Virginia Tech, and studied wood science. I was a ridge runner on the Appalachian Trail in 97, 98. So had pretty deep AT ties. Virginia Tech maintained 40 miles of the Appalachian Trail through the outdoor club I was a member of. So I was a trail boss there. So we maintained 40 miles of trail while I was in college. And then moved to Oregon in 2000 with hopes to hike the PCT, but got pretty good at being a broker. So I did that for 16 years and then still hiked quite a bit. Still, got out every year for about 2 weeks backpacking. I did a whole series basically of talks called Thru Hikings for the Working Stiffs that were kind of like shorter hikes that you could do. And did that. And then in 2016, I quit my job and hiked the Continental Divide Trail. And then came back and decided to switch industries. So sold some headwear and apparel for a while. And then got involved with Six Moon Designs because I knew the owner for a long time. And he was looking to bring someone in to help run the company with his son so he could kind of step away and have a kind of a contracted role at the company, more high level, do some design, just kind of more overall steering the company in a certain direction and kind of letting us run the day-to-day. So that's how I got involved with Six Moon Designs and been there it's almost 5 years now, 5 years next month. So
wow, time flies.
Yeah, sure does.
I want to hear the story of finding the dog on the AT and then it became your dog. It's a story.
So when I was in the AT, I really wanted a dog before I left, but I was never allowed to have a dog growing up. And this dog had showed up at like Fontana Dam, this German Shepherd Chow mix, and started following hikers back and forth through the Smoky Mountains. So he like would follow hikers up to like Newfound Gap, and someone would like try to get him in a car. He'd be like, "No, I'm getting in a car." And he would take off and run the opposite direction, go back to Fontana Dam, and then follow other hikers. And he kind of went back and forth. And then these two guys brought him into this town, Irwin. And I came into the town of Irwin that morning. And if you don't know anything about Irwin, Tennessee, Irwin, Tennessee is famous because I don't know when it was, like early 1900s. They hung an elephant there. This elephant, Mary the elephant, had been in a parade. She had an infected ear. She got prodded. She trampled the animal trainer to death. So this was in Johnson City, town over. Johnson City decided as a publicity stunt for the circus, they would have a trial. So they put the elephant on trial, found her guilty of murder, and then tried to electrocute her. And with as much electricity as they could pump out back in the 1900s, they could not electrocute her. So someone was like, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's go over to Irwin where they're building the train, and we'll use that big crane and we'll hang her." So they had a public hanging of the elephant. Now I'm reading this history as I'm going into the town that morning. I'm going, and that's kind of grim. And I'm like, They can't be proud of that. The first thing I see when I get into town is the hanging elephant antique shop with a big mural of a hanging elephant. And then later on, I see something else referencing the hanging elephant. And then I'm walking to McDonald's, and I pass the train crane park where they have on display the locomotive and the actual crane they hung the elephant on. So they were proud of hanging this elephant. So I get to the hotel, sit down, start playing with this awesome dog for like 30 minutes. Just out front playing with this dog. And my two friends come out and they're like, "Hey, we're going home. We're super sick. Like, we're getting off trail. But hey, if that dog doesn't leave with a hiker tomorrow morning, it's going to go to the pound here." And I was like, "Well, I can't send this dog to the pound. Like, I'll take him with me." It's like, "I'll get him back on trail." And I was like, "If he makes it to Damascus in a couple days, like, I'll keep him." And that dog pretty much stayed by my side for the next 13 years of my life. And we were like totally bonded. By the time we got to Damascus, a couple days later, I went to town, talked to the outfitter. He hooked me up with a backpack really cheap and some dog bowls, bought a leash and a collar. I had like some vets help me out along the way, getting him all his shots and everything. And I went to Virginia Tech my freshman year, and the girl I hiked with lived 45 minutes away, so she kept him up on the farm she lived on. And then I would go up and take care of him when she traveled or bring him down to my dorm with me. But he was an awesome dog. I mean, all through college, I could like open the front door of our house and I'd be like, "All right, see you later, buddy." And like 2 classes later, he'd be like sitting in front of the building I was in at Virginia Tech waiting for me. I mean, Virginia Tech's a massive school. I mean, there was like 25,000 students when I was there. And that dog could find me like a needle in a haystack. So, yeah, it was a really awesome bond. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome.
What was the name of the dog?
I named him Irwin.
Irwin. Oh,
yeah, after Irwin, Tennessee. Yeah.
See what you did there. Yes. Very good.
It's a great name for a dog. I mean, you never meet anybody named Irwin anymore, but I mean, a dog, it makes total sense.
Yeah, it's a perfect name.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Hey, we're going to put a pin in that right there. We're going to take a quick break, hear from the advertisers, pay some bills, and we come back. We're going to get down into some of what you've been up to recently since our last talk back in May of 2022. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
Okay.
And welcome back. We are talking to Whitney LaRuffa, also known as Allgood, and we've got our co-host here, Jeff Garmire, also known as Legend. And the last time we talked Allgood on the podcast here, it was May of 2022, so almost a year ago.
Okay.
Have you been a busy guy for the last year? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've done a lot of different things. I guess right after we spoke, that was May. So in July, me and 3 friends did the new Corvallis to Coast Trail, which is a 65-mile route that starts in the town of Corvallis, Oregon, in the Willamette Valley, and takes you up and over the Coast Range and then dumps you off at the Pacific Ocean. So it's a new trail. It's pretty interesting because there's not too many ways you could actually walk from the valley to the ocean here in Oregon. So that's pretty unique. But it had its challenges. One, it was really hot. The weekend we happened to pick to go was like our first heat wave of the year. So we were having like almost triple-digit temps. So that made it tough. Luckily, like 8 miles in, there's a Dairy Queen. So you can go in and get like, a nice cold blizzard early on to cool off.
8 miles. You've barely earned it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, boy, big 8 miles. Better get myself a large blizzard and a cheeseburger real quick.
That is the hallmark of a top-notch trail when they have designed the trail with
there's so many
things 8 miles in.
There's so many things I loved about the Corvallis and Coast Trail. It was, we didn't see any other hikers or bikers while we were out there. We were the only people we saw, which I love. I love a trip like that. It was really cool to like go through that area. I've been at Mary's Peak before outside of Corvallis. Like people have gone to Oregon State, know Mary's Peak. But it was really cool to kind of explore the Coast Range. I don't do a lot of Coast Range hiking. I've never gravitated towards that. So that was kind of new for me a little bit. And there was all the wildflowers around me. There were wild irises everywhere, which is really cool. My only rub with that trail was it has very limited camping. The first day we were on trail, we do like 20 something miles. You go through some private forest land where they have a agreement for use. You have to get a permit. It's a free permit through the forestry company. You can't camp on their land. So the first place we could legally camp happened to be a decommissioned forest road with steep banks on either side. So we literally slept in an old roadbed, which if you've ever tried to put a tent stake into an old roadbed, it's very difficult to do. So that was probably the biggest challenge. The same thing the next night we were on trail. I literally slept on the pullout of a gravel Forest Service road in the Coast Range, about half a day's walk, maybe 12 or 15 miles away from the coast. Like you could see the ocean, you could see the bay from where we were camping, but the camping was probably the biggest challenge. There are some designated campsites, but it probably works out better where they're located if you're on a bike than hiking. So that was the first trip I did. That was pretty cool. Then we had PCT days, which if you've never been to PCT days, highly recommend it. It's a great time. You were at PCT days, weren't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I was last year.
Yeah. So it's a good time. There's about 5,000 people that event every year and about 50, 60 vendors. Pretty busy weekend, but we had a really big party, pretty fun party in Cascade Locks that Six Moon Designs hosted, which was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. The town said we can't do it Thursday night because the complaints from people who quote unquote had to go to work in the morning, whatever. Like it was done by 9:45. But so we're gonna have the Friday night party this year. So come to the Hiker Fun party this year at PCT days. And then
What's the date on that? Allgood?
I think it's August. Hold on, one more month there on the calendar. August 17th or 18th and 19th this year.
Yeah, 18th.
18th and 19th. The 2-day festival, Friday, Saturday this year. Now,
Allgood, you mentioned earlier you did the AT when you were 18, and then you also did the CDT.
When I was 38.
Yeah,
my 20th anniversary hike. And
it sounded like you had attempted the PCT at one point, but were unsuccessful. Any desire to?
No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Okay.
I moved here with the hope of hiking the PCT and got a career. And
the career guy
was really good at my career.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, and then like my girlfriend and I got engaged, then we got married, and then like we bought a house, and like those things you do in life kind of got in the way of the PCT. So for my 20th anniversary hike in the AT, I quit my career job because I really hated what I did. I was very good at my job, and I hated it every day I went to it. Like I literally had to go through mental gymnastics just to walk in that office and be there for 9 hours a day. That's how bad that was. But I was good at it. I just hated it. So I quit that, hiked the CDT because I was like, well, I really want to hike the CDT. Why it's still like wild and it's not. I mean, like the PCT's a lot like the AT now, where the CDT was like the AT, like when I did the CDT in 16 and Jeff did it, it was like the AT in like the 70s. And in a short amount of time, the CDT is completely different now. I mean, there was like 3 trail angels when we did the CDT in 2016 on the whole trail. Now there's a trail angel in every single town on the CDT. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, the communities along the CDT have bought into the CDT a lot more. They care. They see the benefits of having this National Scenic Trail coming through their town and their communities. So that's a good thing. But I kind of wanted that wild abandonment hike of 5 or 6 months, and that's what the CDT still was able to afford me in 2016. Where I don't think I would have had that at all at this PCT in 2016.
So you're gonna wait till 2036 to do the PCT?
I mean, I want to get my Triple Crown. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But you know, I do a lot of routes and other things, and I mean, the PCT's not going anywhere. It's like
I've heard you say you want the biggest gap between your first and your last.
Man, I don't know if I could pull it off because my boss is probably going to finish his Triple Crown this year, and his first hike was 77.
Oh wow!
So he's like
That's
46 years, and I don't know if I want to wait 47 years to get a Triple Crown. I've been toying with the idea of doing like a 3-year section hike starting next year to finish my Triple Crown for like my 30th anniversary of the AT. So like in 2036, like completing the PCT. I've done a lot of big sections, but I want to do like a 3 big chunk section hike.
Yeah, not 2036, 2026 then, right?
I'm sorry, 2026. Yeah, 2026. Yeah, because I'd really like to get my Triple Crown before my parents pass away too. My parents are in their 80s. I think it'd be nice to get my Triple Crown. They could see me get it. You know, they know it's important to me. So
yeah, the Allgoods could celebrate together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'd come out, but I think my dad would really appreciate seeing me get that.
Season finale of the Allgoods.
Yeah, but I mean, also like, I mean, there's so much other stuff to hike too. I mean, you know, I mean, I think part of my role in the hiking community is kind of encouraging people to get off some of those big national scenic trails that are getting loved to death. I mean, there's a lot of other really cool stuff to do.
Like the Northern New Mexico Loop?
Yeah, it's a perfect segue in the Northern New Mexico Loop. So Brett Tucker, Blister Free, who I hiked with in 96, creates some incredible hiking routes around the Western United States. Lowest to Highest is his creation. Sky Island Traverse, the Grand Enchantment Trail is probably his best known hike that he's developed. But then he's got this awesome 550-mile Northern New Mexico Loop, which just basically makes a big loop out of Santa Fe through the northeast corner of New Mexico. And it's a stunning hike. I did that last fall with my buddy Mike. We took a little less than a month to do it. And it was just like, it was challenging. I mean, right off the bat, leaving Santa Fe, we went counterclockwise because Brett suggested that would be better with the weather that time of year through like the Santa Fe mountains and the San Pedros and stuff, because there was a pretty high risk of snow, pretty early on. But it also meant that our first days out, we were in our highest elevation for like the first week. We were in the highest elevation of the trip. So coming from sea level and like, day 2, we're at like 13,000 feet, it makes a big difference of acclimating. But I mean, I never saw any other Northern New Mexico hikers the whole time we were out there. There was one stretch we did where we had the option to go into Cuba, New Mexico. No, it's a Cuba. No, I'm sorry, Chama, which is a trail town on the CDT. We could have done about 3.5 days of food, hiked an extra 15 miles, hitchhiked into Chama, which is a very tough hitch, as Jeff can probably recall. It's like a notoriously hard hitch. And then you can take the train back up. But then it was also like another 15 miles back to trail. Or what we opted was we just did 6.5 days of food carry. And we just basically did a long, maybe we carried 7 days of food. We just a 7-day stretch where we never went to town. We never saw anybody. And that's rare. I mean, on all the long distance trails in the United States, the CDT's got 2 sections that have 7-day carries. It's pretty rare to do a 7-day carry on any trail. So being out there for 7 days was just awesome. The only people we saw were some deer hunters and some native families that were up fishing at the reservoirs up along the area. Saw tons of elk, saw tons of bighorn. I mean, but it was an awesome, you go through Taos, you go through Red River, Quamada, just a bunch of great little towns. You get to go through Ghost Ranch, which is on the CDT, nice. Which is George O'Keefe's, the ranch where she painted a lot in New Mexico. And when you go to Ghost Ranch, there's no other hikers there. They treat you really well. When you're the only 2 hikers at Ghost Ranch, it's a different experience than northbound on the CDT when there's 20 of you there, at the buffet line. So it was really nice. It was a really cool hike. It was not without tragedy, though. My first week on trail, we had to put my dog down while I was on trail. Oh. So the whole hike is kind of an emotional roller coaster for me to really talk about to some degree because, I was very, very close with my dog, and my wife had to navigate some very difficult times to get me to get him comfortable enough for me to get to town within a couple of days to get online to do things that had to get done. So not easy.
No, so tough. So tough.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was really tough.
Hey, to get your mind off that, let's I have another question for you. Are you a trail guy, or do you also venture off onto routes that are maybe a little bit less defined and require some
I would say I'm much more of a route guy than a trail guy at this point. I mean, the Northern New Mexico Loop is a route, and there's a healthy amount of bushwhacking. There's Brett Tucker has some sadistic qualities, which I love about him. But there's some stuff like New Mexico's gotten hammered pretty hard. Northern New Mexico, between beetle kill and fires and windstorms. I mean, there was days of walking through some blowdowns that were pretty gnarly. Not like all day, but like the next 6 hours of just blow down hell where you're like, it's like a jungle gym, But yeah, I like routes. I like routes more than trails in a lot of ways. It's more of a challenge for me. I feel like I've reached a point in my navigation skills and hiking skills and outdoor person, deal where I just kind of enjoyed that wildness of a route and getting to pick your own way and just kind of going with the flow and making things up as you go along.
Well, if Brett Tucker had you go counterclockwise on the Northern New Mexico Loop, I'd say he is a little bit of a sadist.
Well, the real reason was you have to cross the Rio Grande twice. You have to swim across the Rio Grande twice. So the first time outside of Taos in Sheep Canyon, the sheep crossing of the Rio Grande, that was about waist deep on me. But it wasn't fast moving. It had some current, but it wasn't too bad. My hiking partner is about 6 inches taller than me, 7 inches taller than me. So, I mean, he's got a much bigger opportunity to get into deep water. But the second crossing, we actually didn't cross where he told us to cross. We had met some rangers the day before, and they recommended another spot to cross, which actually turned out to be not a very good place to cross. It was very swift. It was kind of narrow. My hiking partner went in first. He started walking up the shoreline, almost lost his shoe in the dirt, decided to go in and went under. So when he tried to cross, he went under. Took about 3 strokes, popped up, and was able to catch his feet and walk across. So I walked way up to the top of the rift when I crossed. And that was like thigh deep, but that water was moving really, really strong.
Wow.
That was part of the reason why he suggested going that way, was because of the Rio Grande crossings. And then also the potential for snow. So, yeah. But yeah, I like routes. I mean, I've done the Oregon Desert Trail. I did a route in 2014 called the Chinook Trail as the first person to do. I ground truth the Blue Mountains Trail. We were, the first group of 3 that through hike that. So I mean, I enjoy a route. I enjoy the discovery of it. I enjoy the challenge.
Does the Hayduke have any attraction for you?
Oh, I mean, that's been high on my list for many years. I kind of feel like it's one of those spots that's lacking on my hiking resume, like the PCT. It's a matter of like, I probably need more than a month to do the Hayduke, and I can get away for about 5 weeks max from work to get to go hiking every year. Which, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Anyone who gets 5 weeks off to go hiking a year is super fortunate. But it's like much more than that. I'm kind of pushing the limits a little bit of how long I can be gone. So,
right, Jeff, ever done the Hayduke yet?
No. Nope.
You don't sound too enthused about it either.
No, I'd be into it, but I think it's the same thing. I think I would probably go international if it was like a month or something like that. Yeah. So it's really high up there. I've been to a bunch of places on it. I enjoy that region, but just through hiking it, I think that chunk of time I might go elsewhere. But I think if you haven't been down there, it's a great way to see a bunch of things.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Allgood, tell us about some of the other things you've been involved with. I know you were at the ALDHA West Gathering and the CMT.
Yep. Yeah, right after the Northern New Mexico Loop, we jumped in the Six Moon Designs van. We drove up to Colorado to Keystone, and we went to the All West Gathering, which is the annual fall gathering of hikers, Triple Crown ceremony, Martin Papanek Award for Trail Ranger of the Year. I was the president of the organization for a little over 6 years. So pretty deep ties. It was the first gathering they had in person since COVID. So the turnout was a little lower than I think anybody wanted, but really awesome speakers, myself included, got to present about the Blue Mountains Trail with Naomi. But I mean, just some of the other talks were incredible. Dirtmonger came and talked about the Great Basin Trail, and Early Bird came and talked about, the art of FKTs and stuff. And it was it was just a really great gathering. It was great to see so many friends that I've known for over a decade that I hadn't seen in a long time all in one place. So that was really nice. And then, this spring, I mean, I've just kind of been on a.
Hang on, before you get to spring, I have this vision. You said you got into the Six Moon Designs van. Is that like the Scooby Doo van?
Yeah. It's like it's a 2500 Sprinter. The Sprinter 2500 long wheelbase. It's custom wrapped. It's got off-road tires.
It's got pictures of hikers on the side.
It's got pictures of hikers on the side. Everything's really cool. And then on the back, we have like all these different Instagram shots from customers. And then like their handle, you can follow them. And inside, it's got a bed, like a bench seat that converts to a bed. It's got a fridge, TV, microwave, stove, storage. And then in the back, has like a big wall in the back. And then I have just like a bunch of inventory and display stuff for when I travel around to do the thing.
That is the way to do it. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's a nice fringe benefit of the job. I can tell you that.
Did you drive to AT Trail Days?
I haven't driven to that one, but I really want to. And I'm like next year, I'm like, do I skip? Like, do I fly to CDT kickoff next year and then drive to AT Trail Days? Like, that's kind of what I want to do.
Wow.
I'm going to drive to Wisconsin this summer for an event. That's going to be a pretty long drive. But the problem with driving to AT Trail Days is like, now you're taking like the week I'm already at AT Trail Days and turning that into like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's kind of the hard thing about it. But no, I usually fly to that one. So. But yeah, it's kind of the Scooby Doo with it. It's like the nice thing with the Six Moon Design van is like I usually throw in like one or two other friends that are are hikers that want to travel with me, and you just have a road trip. It's kind of fun to have a road trip. We camp along the way. We like in the spring. I always go down to see Mags and Moab, go to Arches. He always takes me to see some super awesome like relics, and then go down to CDT kickoff. And on the way home, this year we stopped at Mesa Verde, which I'd never been to, and that was super cool. So, yeah, it's pretty nice to have that option.
All right, Jeff, what burning questions do you have for Allgood here?
Oh, I'm just still into this van idea. I think you need to just like showcase a bunch of routes on the way out to AT Trail Days. Just like, here's a route you can do in Kansas.
That would be pretty sweet.
Brett Tucker drew me this route, and you just grab water from like cow ponds across Kansas.
I have Brett Tucker map out the route for the Sprinter. That'd be fantastic. Yep. All on like old dirt roads.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Get fuel. I got like a bunch of jerry cans in the van with me.
Yeah, he would say like your low fuel light's gonna come on, but you'll make it to the gas station. It's just a little further. That's how he describes this. Right there. Yeah, that's how things are described. Yeah, like
exactly.
When the trail disappears, keep going.
Yeah. The nice thing was this spring when I drove down to CDT kickoff, we stopped at Bidets National Monument, which is a really cool national monument outside of Santa Fe, right outside of Los Alamos. And Chris and Aaron from Catabatic Gear came down and met me. And one of the writers for Treeline was with us, and Swami was with us, and my friend Swept Away. And we just went and did like a 3-day really easy backpacking trip, which is very rare for that crew to do. And it was really fun because like Chris and Aaron from Catabatic and I and Mike, we were able to talk a lot about like what's happening in gear and business and share ideas. And like, I'm really trying to revive the brain trust hikes. Like when ultralight through hiking really became a thing in the early 2000s, Ron, my boss, Ron Moak, and then Henry Shires from Tarp Tent, and Glenn Van Pesky from Gossamer Gear, and sometimes Grant from Gossamer Gear, and Brian Franco, who started ULA. Every year, those guys are going to take like a week-long trip together. And they would go to the Winds. They would go somewhere in the West and go backpacking for a week together. And on those hikes, like the first couple of days, it'd all be kind of guarded. And like kind of trying to show off their new piece of gear. And at the end, they would be coming up with new ideas that they could all market, giving each other advice on like best practices on the business or where to get something made or, what's working, what's not, what's new in the fabric world. And there was a lot of collaboration that went on early on between all those companies and continues on to the day. And I'd say we're all still very friendly, all the companies. We still share information as needed. But it's harder to get the next generation that's running these companies to go out on trail than it was back in the day. And I think it's because some people aren't hikers and maybe they're intimidated by going hiking with me. I don't know, but I'm like, dude, I can hike an 8 mile day. I don't care. Like, we can hang out in camp. I don't care. Like, I just want to hang out. And it's nice to hang out, not at a trade show and not at a trail event. I mean, you go to a trail event, you're not hanging out. You're working all day. This is a trail days in Damascus. I work 14-hour days. You might hang out for 3 hours at night at the most if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just imagine night one on this trip with all these gear makers and they're testing out prototypes and like a couple tents like fall down or something.
Exactly. Yeah. They definitely had disasters throughout the years. I mean, the story tell you, they're like, oh yeah, they had disasters for sure.
I'm sure they're all testing gear too, so some of it's not going to work and they have to figure it out there in front of their competitor.
Exactly. We have a backpack that's hanging on the wall at work that Ron made when Dyneema first came out, that he was like, yeah, I hiked the TRT with it. He's like, that's the worst backpack I've ever made in my life. He's like, it was like flimsy. It was uncomfortable.
Examples of what not to do. That's like the way you described it, Allgood. That's like a $5,000 wilderness webinar. Having
we could have like a master class
minds together. That's exactly a master class.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's fun. I mean, that's like the nice part of working in the industry is, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Ronald Reagan fan, but I think there's a lot to be said about a rising tide rises all ships. I mean, especially in the world of ultralight gear. I mean, like I was just at Trail Days in Damascus. My booth was across from Z-Packs. He's like one of my competitors, but also like a good friend of mine. And next door to us was Light AF. And I mean, we all get along. We're all friends. I mean, there's enough business out there. We don't have to it's not a cutthroat industry. It's not like trading stocks. We're making ultralight gear and enjoying the outdoors and encouraging others to do so. So
you're in Damascus, Virginia. Enough said. Yeah.
Good old Damascus, Virginia, baby. Now, if you want to go to a trail event, that's the one to go to. 20,000 people. It's like the Bonnaroo of hiking. That's all I can say.
Now, Allgood, I know you're on a tight time frame here. What is the next big adventure? What do you got going next?
Hiking or just otherwise?
Both.
Thursday, I'm flying for the ISPO Outdoor Show in Germany. Going to the state of Oregon, part of their booth. So with a couple other brands. We do a lot of business in Europe, so first time back since 2019. It'd be nice to spend a week there and get to connect with all of my customers over in Europe. Hopefully find some new customers, and then also see the two Germans I hiked the CBT with. So that'll be kind of fun to catch up. Then I'm leaving there and going to Ireland to meet my wife for a week in Ireland to travel around for our 20th wedding anniversary. So she's going to be sainted there for putting up with me for 20 years. That's why we're there.
Congratulations to her.
Thanks. Yeah, no doubt. And then in August, right after PCT days, I'm flying to go to Iceland. And I'll be doing a north-south traverse of Iceland from the middle of August to the middle of September. So I'm looking really forward to that. It should be a very interesting trip. We're doing a variation of the John Lay route that Jonathan Lay laid out many years ago. So from the northernmost lighthouse to the southernmost lighthouse. But instead of utilizing F-roads all the time, we're going to be doing some cross-country stuff to go see some extraordinary geological places in the interior of the country. So that's the next real big trip. So I got a lot of work to get in shape for that right now. So right before I got a missed call, I just walked an hour and a half with the pack on and everything. So just around the neighborhood, 4 miles an hour, trying to get those legs ready for pumping out the miles all day.
Was there anything in the backpack, or was it empty?
Oh no, there's 30 pounds of water in the backpack. Yeah, no, I train with. I'll slowly work up to 50 pounds in the next the next month. By this time next month, I'll be training with a 50-pound pack every day when I train.
I like to train with 30 pounds of Snicker bars in the bag.
That's a great way to train. Then if you get hungry on the way, you just pop one out and eat it.
You end up larger than when you start training.
Exactly. Yeah. I used to do rice, but I figured out that pinto beans work really good in packing pods. You can fit 10 pounds in one of the 6-spoon packing pods we make. So I just stack I just have 5 of those, and I just keep adding in 10 pounds, every week as you're building up to the 50. And if you train with a 50-pound pack, when you get on trail and you have a 30-pound pack, your body's already used to way more weight, so it's a lot easier. So
hiker trash hack, you just use pinto beans as your training weight.
Exactly. And then if you get hungry, you just like throw them in the Instapot when you get home, and like 20 minutes later, you got dinner.
Well, all good. You were a bit premature because
Hiking hacks.
Oh, I mean, we don't talk about training.
We have now arrived at the hiking hack segment where you get to share some trail wisdom, and you already used that one up. So you got to have something else for us. What do you have?
All right. If you use a gravity filter, like I use a gravity filter, so I use 2 Canuck Vecto water bags and then a Sawyer squeeze filter in between them with the bottle coupler. So you can like set up as a gravity filter. So one hiking hack I learned is you don't have to have a tree to hang that off of. So if you get the Night Eyes gear ties, I always keep one of those on my dirty Canuck bag. You can use that. I have gravity filtered water in the last year of my life off the peak of my tent, set up in camp.
Yeah.
We used 4 trekking poles one day and made like a variation of a tripod just out in the middle of the desert. And we were able to hang 3 Vectos off of that at the same time to filter water for 3 people. Wow. And then when I was in Bandolier, I used that same gear tie and I put it on the Y strap of my Swift X and I just hung my bags down the back of my backpack while I walked them out to filter on my water. There you go. There's the hack right there.
Wow, that eliminates the like need to stop and filter. You can just clip it on and keep going.
Keep going. I will say, like, once that 3 liters got to like 2 liters of clean water, it started kind of acting like a dirty diaper, kind of swinging back and forth behind me. But I mean, it worked. It worked until it was filtered. So I mean, it worked out pretty well. It was super efficient.
Yeah, and Jeff, you need to bump his score up 5 points because he mentioned another sponsor of the podcast. He mentioned Sawyer. Sawyer is also sponsors Hiker Trash Radio. So there you go.
Those are my boys right there, man. I spent a lot of time with the boys. We share a booth at Trail Days in Damascus.
Oh, that's why my ears were burning. You guys were talking about me.
Yeah, when we Damascus, to make it work, I split a booth with the Sawyer crew in Tokes Outdoors, Tokes Titanium. And we all pay for our sponsorship levels, but because we're all traveling from afar, we rent a big wedding tent. So like you come to Trail Days in Damascus, we have like a 20 by 30 wedding tent. We're like the destination because we actually have shade during the day when it's hot. And then when it starts raining, which it does every year at Trail Days, we're like, the refuge for everyone to show up to because we have a place to get out of the rain. But yeah, those guys at Sawyer, they make great stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
They're known for their water filters, but here's a little bonus tip. Their sunblock is, I think, the best product they make. Their Stay Put sunblock, that stuff is so good. You put it on once. That's it, dude. You put that on once for the day and you're good to go. That's the best sunblock I've ever used. And it doesn't
put it on in the morning.
Greasy. Huh?
Yeah. Just put it on in the morning and you don't even have to worry about it. It's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, and it's not like it doesn't leave you greasy. Like it really absorbs in, or like you don't feel all greasy and slimy from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great
100%.
sunblock. Yeah. Can't say enough good things about it.
All right. So there you have it. We are just about done here. Hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Allgood. Want to thank you for joining us this week. Whitney, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures?
Social media, I think I've been kind of taking a healthy break to some degree. I'm posting frequently at Allgood's K9 Adventures. So it's AGK9 Adventures is my Instagram handle. You can find me there, and also in the Six Moon Designs feeds. At Six Moon Designs on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. I'm on there. And then I keep an infrequent blog at thedagodiaries.com. But I will be blogging about my Iceland trip this year. I don't know if I'll blog while I'm out there, but I'll write some stuff when I get back for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, remember to check out Hiker Trash Radio on social media as well. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Is that enough? That seems like a lot. I think I'm
like a lot.
Exposed. Yeah. And if you have comments or clips you want to share with me, you can send it to me at johnfreakingmuir@gmail.com.
Off the beaten path.
Now, unfortunately, we can't always be on the trail. And when we're not, we need to find a way to get our adventure fix. So Allgood, I'm going to ask you to share some outdoor adventure media with our listeners to help them get by. This could be a book, a movie, a documentary. We call this segment Off the Beaten Path. Any recommendations?
Oh my gosh, I got to run and grab the book. I got an awesome book for your readers.
Okay. Jeff,
their listeners.
Fill in the dead space here.
Yeah. Well, Allgood has been very interesting. His score has gone up and down all night in terms of the sanity index, but
All right, sorry. I had to run the next room where the library is. All right, this book right here. I don't know if you can see it. You
See a
can't.
big bear.
It's called Mark of the Grizzlies by Scott McMillan.
okay.
This book is 28 short stories of grizzly bear attacks in North America.
Perfect.
And then the coolest part about it is at the end of each bear attack, they sit down with the bear biologist and they break down what happened and how could it have been avoided, or if it could have been avoided. And I got to say, it makes you think twice now when you go into grizzly country, but about 80% of this book, I would say, is unavoidable bear attacks. It's a grizzly bear guarding a kill by a trail that nobody knew was there. But it's a really well-written book. It's very interesting. It goes into some really pretty gory detail, but it's a great book, a great read. I really enjoyed it.
I live in grizzly country.
Yeah, I know you do. So there you go. So that's a really good one. And you know what? If you're not into grizzly bears and that, I would say if you've never read Walking with Spring by Earl Schaefer, I think that's like a book every hiker should read. I mean, that is like the first through hike. It's what brought all of us to this point of having Hiker Trash Radio as a podcast. I mean, Earl Schaefer in 1948, trying to walk off the ravages of the Pacific Theater of World War II, through hikes the Appalachian Trail. And, you know, for a simple guy from Pennsylvania, he's a pretty good writer. And it's a really great read if you've never read it.
Fantastic. Have you ever seen Grizzly Man,
I have.
the documentary?
I have also read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy was crazy. It's different.
Yeah.
That guy was like petting the bears. This is like, hey, Bob went hiking and was going through some thick brush and got eaten. And what happened? Oh, there was a dead caribou next to the trail that nobody knew about. The grizzly bear was guarding it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, Walking with Spring. Also, just to shout out, this is Earl Schaefer's 75th anniversary of hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
So, I mean, it only seems fitting that would be a book that people should read. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right.
Have we not asked you?
And before we wrap things up, just one more segment for you. All good, called What Have I Not Asked You That You're Dying to Tell Us About? What did we miss?
I don't think much. I got into pack rafting this last summer. And
Oh, that's big.
yeah, I would say if you're looking to kind of mix multi-sports or just kind of venture out from the usual hiking side of things, check out pack rafting. It's a vastly growing popular sport, and it just opens up a lot more access to you, especially out west. I mean, where so much of what we do is a combination of wilderness and then water around us, and it's pretty fun. I mean, just even paddling flat water, it's just really easy to get them in and out of the car, and it's just a neat way to kind of explore stuff in a human-powered way.
All right. Hey, we are finished. Thank you for coming on and spending some time with us. All good. I know you are jam-packed with activities going from one place to the next. We wish you the very best in your upcoming adventures to Germany and Ireland. Hope you have a lot of fun out there. Hope you consider coming back on the pod and talking to us some more in a later season.
For sure. Anytime you want to have me. I love chatting with you guys.
All right. As we close up today, any shout-outs to friends and family?
Yeah, special shout-out to Disco from the Trail Show. Sorry about giving you COVID. I hope you're better. And DOD, sorry for giving him COVID. And then just to all my hiking partners and friends and family, you know who you are. You know I love you, and I hope you're all well.
I'm glad
a whole other episode now.
Yeah, I'm glad he used trail names. I think we just violated HIPAA there, but that's all right. All right. Hey, thank you for tuning in. Always remember, the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. It doesn't even care if you've been crammed into the Six Moon Designs van all day and have been driving cross country to the next trailhead. The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.